Great.
Because we are prelooked everything.
Hello. All right, let's do this.
Okay. Oh, wait. Today's show is brought to you by Faithful Counseling. Get the counseling that you need right from home. Teletherapy, online counseling, texts, whatever you need, do it now. Go to getfaithful.com/Anatomy of Marriage to learn more. Hello and welcome to Anatomy of Marriage Radio. I'm your host, Melanie Studley.
What's up, my friends? My name is Seth Studley. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. Welcome to today's show where we do real help for real couples.
That's exactly right. We are glad that you're here. And every day we go live. Not every day. I'm a total liar. Tuesday and Thursdays we go live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram to talk about the things that matter to marriages because we don't want you to have a bad marriage like we had.
That's right.
And today we are answering a question that we have been sent by bajillions of people. And it's, how the crunch do I get my spouse to go to therapy?
How do I get my partner to do something that they may not want to do?
Did I not say sponsored by, Bill?
Oh,
crap.
Sponsored by. What's up, Joe?
Today's show is sponsored by Faithful Counseling. Get the counseling help that you need by visiting getfaithful.com/Anatomy of Marriage. You're a lifesaver, Bill.
Today's show is also sponsored by Created with Love.
That's right. Get your date box made.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, this isn't a question really, but we do get a lot of inquiries about how do I get my spouse to do this or to do that? And so we have a lot of thoughts on that based on real life experience. So this is going to be a good show. Go for it. And
we're doing like a record scratch on this one because we are not going to only answer it from the perspective of the partner who wrote in or writes in. I mean, this is not one question. It's like bunches of questions. And thank you, Bill. So this is going to actually be an episode for the person who won't go to therapy. So this is how I'm twisting it all around because here's a perfect example. We bought our dog a doghouse.
Yes.
$7 at a yard sale, y'all. I'm a cheap. And we went and we bought him this doghouse. It is dumping rain in Washington right now. Guess what the dog won't do? Even though I want him to desperately do it, what won't he do?
He won't take shelter.
He won't go in the flippin' doghouse.
He doesn't want to be warm or
He
dry.
doesn't know why it's good for him right now. So he huddles next to the house getting rained on because he doesn't know what would be better for him.
Right.
So we want to talk about how to get our dog in the doghouse and how to get you, spouse, into therapy.
You, spouse, into therapy. Okay, so do you have a question or a format here?
Here's the format.
Okay.
So this is the first thing I want to say right off the bat. What do you think, what does it feel like to you as a partner, especially as a man? This is almost always written from the perspective of a wife saying, I cannot get my husband to go to therapy. So, man in the room with me.
That's me.
What does it feel like? What would it feel like if I said, I really think we need help. I want to go to therapy. How would you feel? Don't tell me how you feel now. How would Seth 7 years ago feel?
Nag that.
Okay, tell me more.
I don't want to do that. Why do we have to do that? I'm fine kind of how I am. Deep down, I might know that something could be different, right? But especially as a therapist, I want to answer this as two ways. As a therapist and a man, which I am both.
Right.
Usually the idea of, well, we should go to therapy comes when and after what?
Problems.
Right. During fights and then after fights, like, oh, you're overwhelmed, you're depressed, you have anxiety, blah, blah, and you're looking at your partner because you're dissatisfied, there can be more, and you're looking at the partner sometimes saying, we should go to therapy. You should talk to the therapist.
Right. It would be better if you went, right? It has that vibe.
Right. So that is not a way to do anything. Wives, shoot yourself in the foot. Husbands, you're shooting yourself in the foot if you're trying to do that. That makes me think of a scene in Point Break, the original.
No, that makes me think of my friend's child who literally shot an arrow through his foot.
Right.
Oh, like
that makes me upset because it was a crossbow.
A crossbow, directly into his toe. Oh,
like, come on.
Oh no.
Gun safety, my friends.
Well, he's like 10.
Well, even.
Knock it off.
Okay.
So I want to keep talking about it from this perspective. This is for the partner who is saying, I don't want to go to therapy. The problem is yours. You're the one who keeps bringing it up. You go. Right?
Right.
So what does that feel like from a man's perspective, and how do we begin to get them to see it differently? I have some notes on that.
To some degree, it feels emasculating.
Right.
Like, oh, great, I'm just doing stuff wrong.
Right.
I'm not providing whatever,
Mhm.
because something's missing, emotional intimacy, talking, that connection or whatever, being present sometimes.
Mhm.
And so when our faults are pointed out,
Yes.
how does that feel
Mhm.
from a man or a woman,
Bad.
right? How does it feel?
It's shaming.
Right?
Like I'm stupid.
That's the way you feel. It doesn't mean you are stupid.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you are doing shameful things.
Mhm.
You're just like, oh, somebody is pointing out something, right? Calling you to do something uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Really, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
It's like an invite to therapy. We're saying you should go to therapy is a call to do something that is uncomfortable that you don't want to do.
It reminds me of like when you have, like if you have a burn, if you get like a really big burn and you have to go to the hospital and they're like, all right, let's take all those bandages off that you have spent a long time putting on there.
Right.
And we know they've healed in and it's going to hurt so bad, but here we go.
Right. But and also in reality, that's the best thing for that wound.
Right.
To clean it out, to air it out, to put more ointment on it or whatever.
Ointment.
Put more nard on it.
Pure nard. Grab the pure nard. One of the things I want to directly say that is very hard to communicate, especially like you said, when couples or one partner is saying, I really think we should go to therapy. Even if they're saying it in a bad, mean, unhelpful way, what they mean is, I love you so much. I want to know how to love you better. I want us to have a better future, a better household, to feel happier, to feel more connected.
Right. The meaning behind the meaning behind the meaning, right? Like I say often, I believe that most people inherently do what is right most of the time with what we have.
Yeah.
We actually try our best.
Right.
There can be years and a long times of where we're like, well, forget it. And then we're just in a pattern of like, well, oh, that's how we are. But that's not really how we are. Because at our core, I think we're all mostly good, barring some sort of mental psychopathy or something like that, right? So that is the meaning behind the meaning behind the meaning. And sometimes, we put up walls and stuff like, oh, you have a hard shell now, so do I. We're just like, I'm not going to therapy.
Right.
I'm not talking about what for the last 10 years, like I've, hinted at these things, but you've just like been sarcastic or critical or like kind of crushed me down. I'm not even sitting in the room with you with a therapist, right? So, okay, here's the key. Get to it, right? Don't bore us. Get to the chorus, right?
Gosh. Quit saying,
how do you get your Spartan partner? Geez, slow it down, Seth. Cool it down, bro. How do you get your partner, your spouse, to go to therapy? Okay, well, first talk about it in a non-critical, non-blaming. You always, you never. No, none of that. Use an I statement.
Wait. Nope.
What?
I'm not going to use an I statement. I'm going to use that idea of one of those big horses called Clydesdale, pulling us toward a vision that is so strong and encouraging and awesome that we don't have to push and use I statements like a bunch of geeks, because sometimes they don't work in this situation.
You say geek?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that word since 1996. Oh my, that's so Raven or something.
Ooh,
so hold on. I was
show.
making a point here.
Say it.
So you want to invite your partner to it, right? And if that partner's like, no, I'm not going to, you can do one of two things. You can get all but hurt. You can be an emotional baby, like we both were and have been in our marriage because we just didn't know anything, but we wanted to grow, right? You can do that and not much is going to change. Or you can say, okay, you are your own person. I am differentiated. I am going to choose to go to therapy. Perfect, real-time, most recent example.
Okay.
You know what I'm going to say?
No.
So, you were not on board with 75 Hard.
Yeah, I was the opposite of on board.
And we talked about this for a minute. You were absolutely not on board with it. And it wasn't contingent upon you if I was going to do it or not, right? I wasn't all butthurt or whatever. Sure, I was stressed out. I was like, oh, come on, is this the right thing?
Right.
And you were pushing back. Hey, if you do this, you'll spend 180 hours alone and not with a family doing exercise, just like you always do or whatever, right? But so I did it. And in actuality, fast forward 3 months, what actually happened? You did, right?
Because
so just the act
you do it,
of me doing it, making this decision, not being a douchebag about it, but like actually making it work. Getting up earlier when everybody was asleep to do my exercises, or what?
douchoisie is all I can.
Yeah, I was not a douchoisie.
Don't be a douchoisie.
And I wasn't that. So, and I went and I did it, and it was good for me. And then that invited you to do it, right? So I will say this: as a therapist, I have so many couples all the time. My husband won't come. My husband won't come. I want to talk about stuff. They don't. I'm emotionally mature. They're not. Blah blah.
Right.
Okay. You keep on doing you. And you keep on getting healthy.
Right.
And eventually, sometimes it takes a long time.
Right.
Eventually, your person may come around. May come around. Just because you go to therapy or do an exercise thing doesn't mean that your spouse is going to be like, oh, they're awesome. I want some of that awesomeness, and they're going to do it for themselves.
Right.
Most of the time, not most of the time. I don't know what percentage it is, but it's not guaranteed, right? But at least you don't have to sit and wait around on them to do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
Because a lot of times I've had couples who were just like bonkers, just like we were, just wacky, mad at each other, mad and not even super happy ourselves, or just didn't know our, from a hole in the ground kind of thing.
Our kneecap from the
Our kneecap. Yeah,
kneecap.
And couples come in or one person comes in and they start getting healthy. Right. They start doing it. And guess what? They're not so much worried about if their partner isn't going to come to therapy or not. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So it really works out. So honestly, I was excited when you pulled this topic up. Honestly, the answer is go do the work yourself. Now, okay. Bill says, I think that coming from the point of clearing structure, using the I statement is like, I would like to work on our relationship. Can you help me? Can you help by going with me? Who doesn't want to help their partner? This may be a covert method of getting help, but I think it would work.
That's great. Be as covert as you need.
Sometimes, yeah, but sometimes after, a lot of hurt and like hard shells and walls built up, your partner is going to see that and like, no, I'm not doing that.
But they might have a soft, gooey center.
Right. And oftentimes, here's the thing that hopefully you get a good therapist that can call this out.
Right.
Sometimes I've had couples too that, get in an argument at home and say, oh, well, we're going to go see what Seth says about that.
Right.
And I'm like,
no,
what are you doing? That. Okay. Yeah. Bring that to me. You know what Seth will say? They'll say, you cannot weaponize therapy.
Right,
you cannot weaponize like this.
You can, but you shouldn't.
Well, you can, but it will damage you. Somebody says, after 9 years of marriage, we are separated, but she has agreed to go to counseling for the first time tonight.
Awesome.
Yes. Hallelujah.
That is an amazing.
That is good. So be patient, be kind, be loving, give. I've said this a couple times. And I always think about birth, obviously, but give a wide berth, like a huge cargo ship. It's like,
get them diameters, y'all. 10 centimeters, diameters.
It's not birth, it's BER.
No, but centimeters.
Anyway, yeah, so good for you. Good work. So, okay.
Well, and I want to continue talking about this, and I'm really, really, really excited that you guys are going to counseling, to therapy, and all of that. So good job. I'll be thinking about you.
Well, wait a minute. Speaking of therapy.
Yeah, let's speak about therapy.
It honestly cannot be easier to go to therapy
right now.
In this day and age, right? So we have partnered with and are sponsored by Faithful Counseling, right? And if you go to getfaithful.com/anatomy of marriage, you will get hooked up with a licensed counselor. It doesn't matter what state you're in. It doesn't matter what time zone you're in. It doesn't matter what country you're in. Go to getfaithful.com/anatomy of marriage. Get hooked up with a counselor. It's teletherapy. Just like you're watching us on the interwebs right now, that's how you'll see your counselor. It's HIPAA compliant, it's convenient, it is confidential, right? And it's cheaper. You don't have to go get in line or traffic jams or anything like that. So go to getfaithful.com/anatomy of marriage to take the assessment, and you will get paired up with a counselor who knows what you're going through, right? Male, female, black, white, Native American, whatever. Go get a counselor that way. Anxiety, depression, divorce, postpartum, anything like that. Go to getfaithful.com/anatomy of marriage.
And one thing I want to say to encourage the partner who does not want to go to therapy. Here's something really kind of fun that you can do, and I'm not even kidding, is that your therapist is not a part of your family. They are like by law, they can't tell your spouse what you say to them if that's what you agree to. Like what's that called? Like a confidentiality. So I'm saying this because this is what I would have liked. I would have enjoyed knowing that if I had gone to therapy and Seth said, Melanie, I really need you to go to therapy, which he did say for a long time. And I was like, oh yeah, you're dumb, idiot. Right now, that's how I reacted.
You farted on me.
But what I wish I had known was that I can literally like blast out all of the stupid, angry, hurt feelings. And that is actually what I should do to the therapist about Seth instead of blasting it out at Seth.
That's
because he can't take that, and that's going to ruin our marriage. But the therapist can take that all day long. They don't care, and they know what to do with it. They know how to help you. And so that's the one thing I would say to encourage you. Like, you have a ton of pent up thoughts and anger and feelings and whatever, and you're annoyed at your spouse for asking you to go. Just go and vent at the therapist. Like, that is going to be the start of something. It's going to be better than doing nothing. And again, this is the twisted version. Like, we're not talking to the person who wants their partner to go to therapy. We're talking to the person who really should go to therapy. It would be helpful. There's nothing bad about going to therapy unless your therapist is bad. But
that's right.
With Faithful Counseling, you can switch your therapist right away.
Somebody says, I've been in Get Faithful Counseling. Amazing strides. Yesterday, our 36-year-old son died. Accident. What?
Oh my gosh.
I'm so sorry.
Yes. My husband is on the TV computer. 30 years ago, we buried our daughter, now a son. Quite frankly, I am mad at God. I know this grief train is brutal. Oh my gosh. I am so sorry. That is really terrible.
That is crazy. I would say set yourself up with support, family, counselors, friends, everything, and take what you need to do right now.
Community. Surround yourself in community and all of the things that, and obviously your counselor. And what I think is really cool too is that counselors can do, it doesn't have to just be one session a week. Like, if you need counseling and help all the time, you have it all the time. And we talk about that in coaching. Like, we are there for our clients literally every single day. And a situation like this is where you need to say something, talk to someone every single day to get through this. Let's see. I know I always go there, but it seems to me that the person who doesn't want to go to therapy is deep in ego. I think that if there's a way to get the non-therapy going person to come into the present and out of ego, that it may be a way to convince them to do the work. That's a really good way to frame it, I would say.
Right.
How would that feel to you though? Like, trying to think of how we would word this. If I am the non-therapy going person, I don't know that I'm in ego. Right.
So what you need is someone in spirit speaking to another person's ego to try to get them to get into spirit and into the counseling office. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So like, if you came with me just with, completely, or if I came to you completely, in spirit, and we're just talking about, the idea of being in spirit versus ego, which is being a douche or a really soft, kind, loving person, right? So if I'm a really soft, kind, loving person and come to you and say, listen, I actually love you and I care about you and I want us to have better communication, to have more emotional intimacy. I really, really want that. And I am asking you, please come to counseling with me.
Right.
Okay. I'm not going to push you anymore. I'm not going to, whatever, persuade or pull or whatever, but I'm really asking you this. If you please do that, I think it would really, really help both of us.
And I will say,
thank you so much.
Right.
See you later.
If you're listening to the podcast only, Seth is touching my shoulder as he's talking to me and looking in my eyes like kindly. He's not.
Did you feel all warm right now?
I felt cared for. Like, I literally was like, oh, he likes me.
So guess what? The research suggests, and I'm not talking about Google in your underwear on the couch research. I'm talking about
Gottman.
Legit scientific peer-reviewed articles and studies, which I'm very familiar with. If you touch your partner during an argument, or if you just
hold hands,
kind of like hold hands, not like all romantic or like, fingers intertwined, but just like if you just touch, that does something to your autonomic nervous system that just
makes you feel safe.
Kind of chills you out, right? We can be talking about anything, and mostly that works. So that's a pro tip, by the way.
There was something else that I was going to say about that, but I forgot what it was.
Well, I think this is a really good topic. Again, we've had so many people just write in, how do I do this? How do I do this? You have to be the leader. A couple of episodes, I think it was last Tuesday, in fact, there's a Vince Lombardi, the great football coach, quote, and this isn't verbatim, but it goes like, let's see, leading by example isn't the best way to lead. It's the only way to lead.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Leading by example. If I want to save money, if I want to, start a bank account for the kids or whatever, and you're like, no, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of, blah, blah, blah. If I want to go to the gym, if I want to go to counseling, and we have the resources, and it's not just like, okay, screw that, I'm going exercising, you deal with all the kids, because obviously that's not helpful, right? Leading by example and doing that is, it's like the only way to lead, right? I didn't talk about it and say, hey, can I do 75 hard? Should we do it?
Right.
And think about it all the time. Think about it. That wouldn't have gotten you to do it.
No, because I was totally against it.
That would not have gotten you to do it. So I just did it. So I led by actually doing the example and taking that action, right? And you have done the same things, leading by example and like, okay, kids, this is the checklist of the day. We're taking electronics away until you get your stuff done, you know, kind of thing. We didn't have to talk about it forever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So leading by example, both. It's not just like, oh, you know, husbands are the leaders and everything else all the time, 24/7. No, we're always leaders. What kind of leader are you? Where
are you leading your person to?
Right. Are you a good leader or a bad leader? Right?
And that reminds me of what I wanted to say is this idea of finding. So if you're a man and you're wanting to, and your partner is saying, I want you to go to therapy. Again, they're not saying you're such a dumb idiot, you need help, or I'm better than you and you need to go to therapy. They are really saying, what are you doing?
Go ahead.
They are really saying that they want a deeper, better relationship with you. And so one of the things that I think will be helpful is to have that vision that is better and bigger than how you feel right now. And so when you, as a dude who is sitting there, we're not doing that yet. Put it down. You may, it's very distracting.
Multitask.
When you, as a man, are being asked by your partner to go to therapy and you feel like offended by it, here's what I want you to do with that energy instead. I want you to turn it towards figuring out who is the healthiest, awesomest, most bad A version of a guy that you know, that you respect, who's crushing it, and that you want to be like. Use that person as a almost like a vision board, like that inspiration, like Thor, Superman.
You mean have the wife explain it that way?
No, the man.
Okay.
So instead of being, Joyce Meyer says you cannot be pitiful and powerful at the same time. You are either one or the other. Saying you can't go to therapy, it's too hard, or that's pitiful. Okay? That's pitiful. Be powerful. I want to flip the way you think about this to be motivating. What? Right.
Kids sometimes are very pitiful, right?
Yes.
Example of last night, trying to get our kids in bed. Both the kids who share a room didn't. They can't fall asleep. I'm just lay there.
Right.
Just lay there.
You can't fall asleep because you're standing here talking to me about it.
No. And I was like, well, just lay there. Put your covers on. I can't. And I said, you can't lay there? I can't lay. And so they were being very pitiful. Absolutely pitiful. So think about it. When we put self-limiting beliefs on ourselves, right? When we hold ourselves back, we are being pitiful, right? And that is not good. That's not a good look, right? You want to have sex with a pitiful person? You want to make out sex with a pitiful baby?
Right.
No,
and what's more powerful too is getting this vision of what you can become. So if you are sitting there bitter at your wife because she's asking you to go to therapy, change it around. Stop doing the same thing you've done year after year after year. Change it. Figure out who your alter ego of being a strong, like kick-A husband is, and then steer towards that with the help of a therapist.
Right.
Okay? Go to therapy. It's not going to hurt you. And with faithful counseling, it's not expensive. It's cheap. You can do it anywhere. Ain't no thing. Same thing for the women. If your husband is telling you, I want you to go to therapy, and you're like a naggy B word and you're just angry at him all the time, stop. You're not going to get anywhere.
Right.
You will get nowhere. And you'll be annoyed, and your husband will be annoyed, and your kids will see you be annoyed, and more is caught than taught.
You will get less of what you want and more of what you don't.
Exactly.
Ooh, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. So switch it up and have a vision that pulls you somewhere new. Speaking of switching it up,
girl,
who wants to do the same dumb thing every night on their date night? Not me.
I hate dumb things.
Me too. That's why our show is sponsored by.
Ooh, look at that little sticker.
You can't even see it.
Created with Love, you guys. Created with Love. We have partnered with them, and they are a sponsor and a good friend of the show. And they send us boxes.
Date night boxes. Look at these things. I haven't
even seen
They're
that.
They're little paw prints from our Yosemite box.
So, Bill says, without action, there can be no change. Yeah, if nothing changes, right? So, you want stuff to change? then you will win with Created with Love, right? So we've talked about this before. They are a sponsor of the show. It is a fun, economical way to change up the monotony. Last night we played Uno with the kids. Guess what? When we go on date nights, me and Melanie, no kids, hashtag no kids, get a babysitter. We take Created with Love with us because it is fun. And the conversation starters are like, what? I would have never thought of that in 229 years. This is awesome, right? So you're reading a card right there, right? Things you'll find under my
partner's car seat. Things my partner would put in a time capsule.
Right.
Things that describe a fond memory of us.
So this is a good one. So this is conversation starters. Ooh. This is creating shared memories.
And things that describe our first kiss.
Oh, electric.
Starbucks parking lot.
Starbucks coffee breath. Things my partner uses
almost every day.
Yeah, so these are things like I don't think about these things, but when you invest, again, this is super economical way to spice it up. And I'm talking, so this builds emotional intimacy, right? And when we have emotional intimacy, guess what we have more of?
Physical
intimacy. That's right, guys. So go with creativewithlove.com/AOM. Let me say that again.
Do it.
creativewithlove.com/AOM to get your curated date box, okay? And there are so many things in here. You could do one every single day for 30 days. Not kidding.
You could do it from the first one we got.
I had so many games.
It had 52 games. Like one card deck had 52 date nights and 52 different games on one card deck of like 50 decks, not 50 decks, of like 5 that were in the box. So it is so much more than one, because I was like, one date, like, oh, that's not,
so
I need more than that.
Go right now, you guys, creativewithlove.com/AOM. creativewithlove.com/AOM right now.
Don't be boring like all your boring friends. Be better than them.
That's right.
Creative with Love.
So you guys send this podcast to your partner who is having some sort of difficulty of not wanting to grow, or maybe they're scared to go to therapy. They have misconceived preconceived notions about it. It's like, oh, we don't do that. Guys don't do that. So let me just tell you from a guy, as a licensed marriage and family therapist, I've had that stigma. Like, oh, I can do it myself. I can white knuckle it. But that's absolutely not true, right? We have to be in community with this. Speaking of community, go join the AOM Anatomy of Marriage Facebook group, right? We talk about stuff. We have men's groups, women's groups, everything. And
you can get in the men's group and talk about how you don't want to go to therapy. And the men will help you think through it a different way and whatever. But one thing I do want to say is every top athlete that you know has a trainer. Most of them have therapists as well. So that's one of the things. We're in the coaching world, and I listen to coaching podcasts all the time. And it's amazing because top CEOs, executives, millionaires have therapists. Okay, they have therapists
that they can't do it alone.
Yes, they know that they have blind spots, and they know that if they want to become that millionaire, that billionaire, and they want to have that Tesla and that Chrysler Town and Country with the swivel seats and the table inside, that they need to have counseling. They know that. So the top players, people who are kicking A and taking names, have therapists. So do you want to be one of those people?
And they have coaches too.
Right.
Speaking of coaches, email us at coaching@anatomyofmarriage.com. I'll send you my personal cell phone number and we will talk.
I'll get all in your face.
That's right. So coaching@anatomyofmarriage.com. Remember, this show is sponsored by creativewithlove.com/anatomy of marriage. Thanks, Bill. He just threw up the URL for the Facebook groups. And also brought to you by getfaithful.com/anatomy of marriage to go to counseling. Valley Parker Grove will be praying for you, man. Or a woman, I'm not sure. Sorry. That's crazy.
Right.
Our hearts go out to you.
If you're listening to this podcast, send up a prayer for Valley Parker Grove losing their 36-year-old son. That is just devastating. And our community, our listeners, love you. We are here for you. So thank you for sharing.
All right, guys.
All right.
We love you. Keep it real. All. See you over the weekend. Coaching@anatomymarriage.com. We'll hop on a call. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye. Have an amazing day.